I would firstly like to say that I have one conflict of interest. I'm a director on the board of CINE Australia. In January 2012, I travelled to Kolkata on the recommendation of my sister, who is a general practitioner who works in the Northwest, in the Northern Territory, in the Pilbara and the Kimberley of Western Australia, to visit the Child in Need Institute in India. She advised me that it would be very interesting, worthwhile me making that trip, and I thank her for that. CINE India was founded by an Indian paediatrician, Dr. Shamir Chowdhury, and an Australian nutritionist, Sister Pauline Prince, who was a Loreto nun. And fortuitously, in 1973, they met. Sister Pauline Prince was trying to learn Bengali, and she realised that the little kids couldn't learn Bengali because they were hungry. And fortuitously, someone introduced the two, and when my sister Jenny visited CINE in 1974, there were about 6 or 8 people working together. And when she went back in the 1980s, she found that the organisation had expanded to interacting with hundreds of people, and CINE currently employs over 500 professionals and works with about 2,000 or 3,000 volunteers, and is estimated to have impacted the lives of about 5 million people in West Bengal. So this is the story of a doctor who is changing the world. My primary work at that time was as a consultant for a resource company and I advised on provision of health services to over 10,000 people in remote areas in Western Australia. So although I didn't say it at the time, I was quietly confident that I would be able to share some of my wisdom with them. Little did I know. So when I returned from India, it was more disturbing than when I went there, because, as Proust referred, I was now seeing my own world with completely new eyes, and I'm going to give you 4 examples. And I think part of our problem is, or part of our challenge is, that some of our paradigms and some of the words that we use in Western medicine are seriously flawed. And I was challenged with my understanding of some of the words and concepts we use. And you might like to think it through yourselves. When I say the word charity, what does that evoke for you? For me, it used to evoke me giving some money or something to people who couldn't do that for themselves. And I thought that was because I was a good person. That is not the model that CINE use. CINE says that if you have a child that is poor or hungry or thirsty or doesn't have a house or doesn't have a parent, that in a democracy, those are rights. That is not charity. That's not because we're good people. That's because it's what we're meant to do. If a kid is on the street and doesn't have water or food, we don't give it to them because we're nice people. It's because in a wealthy democracy, that is the child's right. And it took me longer than I expected to understand that. I was a bit suspicious before I went when I said to Dr. Chowdhury, what will we bring? And he said, please don't bring stethoscopes. Please don't bring antibiotics. And I don't want you to do anything when you're here, and I don't want you to bring any money. But I would like you, if you think what we're doing is valuable, to tell other people. And 5 years later, I'm repaying that debt now. So I'll talk you through 2 more of the words that I thought I understood, but I now see with new eyes. I now see Australia with a new set of eyes The second word that I thought I understood was empowerment. And I thought that empowerment was sort of telling people who really didn't know how to do things, telling them how to do it. And that's not how CINE views empowerment. These people, if you look at them, they're empowered. Empowerment in the CINE model is very different. If you don't have a lot of doctors and you don't have a lot of money, the way you empower people is to teach local village people who are illiterate and who have never been to school to teach them basic public health. They form a group, they get a piece of paper and they get some pens, they go around the village and they talk to their community and say, do you have running water? Do you have a child in this house? Does your child go to school? So you give them those tools, go away and leave them with the tools. And empowerment also means, so empowerment means giving away some of our power. That doesn't come naturally to me, and I'm not sure if that comes naturally to you. But if we don't have enough money and doctors are very expensive, are you at least willing to share some of your power? So in these villages where women have not been to school, they can do public health with a piece of paper. And the sense of community that that creates is they're talking to their own community. And then they know where their community members are up to. And then the next step, so that creates a sense of community understanding and knowledge, then the next simple public health step is to say to them, you might now choose amongst yourselves to prioritise what you think is the most important thing. And they do. And they're not told what's the most important thing. And then when they have decided what the most important thing is, then the next step is to say, these are ways that you might choose to tackle these problems. And this is very cheap, very simple, public health principles that we all know. And it takes one person to teach groups of empowered women who have never been to school. And they do it with kids. Why wouldn't you ask kids? They develop a children's parliament and they have a minister for health and they have a minister for education and they say to the kids, what do you think is important? What do you want to do? That's real empowerment. I thought I knew what the word meant. And these kids are so enthusiastic and motivated to improve their situation. It is uplifting. And they're treated with respect. This isn't just a pretend thing. What's collaboration? I thought that collaboration was, and I did, I thought it was sort of one organisation kind of telling another organisation what you're doing, something like that. Collaboration at a community level, if you have a community level of poverty, childhood sexual abuse, child trafficking, which they have, girls not going to school because they don't have girls' toilets, is getting the community together and inviting in a non-confrontational way the local police, the local education department, the local health department and saying, we've mapped out these issues, we, not me, they have mapped out the issues, they've decided their priorities. How could we work together with our kids and our women? And it's a completely different paradigm to what I understood those words were. And this is real. They have the police and the education department and the local council. The local council is really important. And the kids and the women are treated with respect because they can say, here's our village with a piece of paper. And this is what we think's one, and this is what we think's two. And we don't want our kids trafficked, which I found hard to imagine even exists, but it does. And so the police say, well, we could put someone at the train station. And if there's a kid with someone who isn't his parent, we'll stop me getting on the train, okay? That's good. That works. And these are the women of the village presenting to the council. You see the council up the back, the power holders, and the teachers, and they hold the teachers accountable, and they hold the doctors accountable to say, this is our map on our bit of paper of what we need for us. It's not me telling them what's important, and it's a completely different paradigm. But only two other points. One thing that we did agree on, and which we did see eye to eye on, one of the social determinants is work, employment. It's good work. Putting people in bad work is not good. And our faculty is determined to work on that social determinant of trying to eliminate or reduce bad work and get people who are unemployed, underemployed, or in bad work into good work. And that's our commitment, to work on that social determinant. In CINE, it's interesting, they don't invest in infrastructure. They don't buy Land Cruisers. They don't build $500 million hospitals. They say that's not top of our list. If we give people some of our power, they'll build their own. So, the other difference is that they don't work on a 4-year political cycle. They say if these are really big problems, really big, entrenched problems, we will stick at it for a generation. And the workers with CINE now, who have masters in nutrition, masters in nursing and public health, were street kids. And they're the people you meet. They commit to a generation of work. So, thank you for bearing with me for an anecdote. One case. Their processes are the subject of a Harvard Business Review case study. And these are some of the awards that CINE has won, which are from the US, Europe, and India. There's some of them. This is more than an anecdote. And I would acknowledge Dr. Chowdhury and my fellow board members of CINE Australia.